Hello and good evening. I am WSFA First Alert Chief Meteorologist Josh Johnson. This is First Alert Weather Extra. This is a special live stream that we are conducting now in advance of what will likely end up being an historic winter storm for much of South Alabama, South Mississippi, the Florida Panhandle, the Louisiana coast, Texas. Yeah, you go from Houston to Lake Charles to New Orleans to Mobile to Pensacola to 30A in Panama City. This one's going to be a big deal. No way to get around that. So, what all are we looking at right now? Well, there's a lot to unpack in this setup, as you would well expect, with something of this sort of complexity. The easy part of the forecast here, quite frankly, is South Alabama. So accumulation is likely in South Alabama. It's going to snow. We know it is going to snow. We know it is going to stick, and we know that there are going to be icy and snow-covered roads, generally speaking, from Camden to Montgomery to Auburn and point south. The farther south you go, the more likely that becomes. The tricky part is what happens in central Alabama. How far north does that snow make it up into that dry air? Because what's going to happen is there's going to be an exceptionally sharp cutoff there between places that get snow and have travel problems and places that get no snow at all. And that line is probably going to set up in our area. And if you're on the wrong side of it, you're going to get no snow at all. If you're on the right side of it, you're going to get snow and it's going to stick and you're going to have travel problems. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. Expect more changes. There's new data coming in tonight. The Zero-Z computer model runs will start around 8:30 and conclude around midnight. I'll do an additional Facebook Live and YouTube Live and live update on the WSFA First Alert weather and news apps tonight at 9:30. So 4 hours from now, once we've got that new data in, we'll have another update. So expect additional changes to all of this. Okay, let's go over this. This is the timing on this whole thing, right? So Tuesday morning, the newest, latest, greatest data has us arriving in southwest Alabama at 9 a.m. Now, let me tell you, history and experience tells us in these overrunning setups where moisture and warm air runs up over the top of cold air, those tend to arrive early, right? So I wouldn't play this too cute here. I think by 10, 11 o'clock, it is snowing across a big chunk of South Alabama. A lot of central Alabama, it's cloudy and cold. Tuesday, late morning. Then lunchtime and beyond, we start to see that snow line get back to the north a little bit. Now, the blue on this map is snow. The darker it is, the heavier it is. So relatively light along the US 80 corridor. That runs from Phoenix City to Tuskegee to Montgomery to Selma to Demopolis. Light there, heavier down here. Then as Tuesday afternoon wears on, this begins to expand a little more to the northwest. And that line, that's what we're looking at here. North of there, it's going to snow very little. South of there, it's going to snow quite a bit. Where exactly does that line set up is really a tough forecast. Our best suspicion right now is it's somewhere around, we'll say, Prattville to Tallahassee to Opelika. Meaning north of there, you get little to no snow. South of there, you get an inch or two. Now, if you change the forecast 20 miles north, and this is all going to change. So that's what this model is saying. Now, I'm a meteorologist. I've been obsessed with snow since I was a little kid. I have studied all of these winter storms that we've ever had in the state of Alabama. Typically, they tend to tick northward as you get closer to it happening. Now, for those of you wanting snow north of Montgomery, you're running out of time. But there has been a northward tick in the data this afternoon. What we've got to see is, do we get an additional northward tick tonight, or was that kind of it? That's going to determine how this works out for a lot of you. Timing it out, we think the snow will exit southeast Alabama just after sunset Tuesday night, and then temperatures plummet down into the upper teens and low 20s by Wednesday morning. So everyone needs to drip their faucets tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night. Next 3 nights, you got to drip those faucets. And any snow that has fallen Tuesday, it's going to freeze up Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So travel issues are likely in a lot of places, all of South Alabama and some of Central Alabama, Tuesday night, and at least Wednesday morning, depending on how much snow falls. Now, how much snow is going to fall? Let's talk about that. This is our brand new forecast map. We've made some subtle adjustments, but really this is This is more or less what we've been rolling with for most of the last 2 days. We have not made a lot of adjustments. We had already incorporated the idea of a northward push into most of our thinking here. So if you draw a line with me, we'll say Camden to Montgomery to Tallahassee to Auburn. Right along that line, we're expecting somewhere around a ½ inch to an inch of snow. South of there, the amounts go up, 1 to 3 inches plus. And somewhere down here in South Alabama, we're going to end up with a narrow strip, in my opinion, of something over 3 inches, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 inches of snow in far South Alabama. This may be your fall of Troy, it may be Enterprise, Andalusia. It will be down here. This part of the forecast, in my opinion, is really high confidence. You never say always or never when you're forecasting snow in Alabama. You never guarantee anything. I have busted snow forecasts in either direction, so I know better. But confidence is very high in the idea of accumulating snow in this area outlined in blue here. In the area outlined in white, there's somewhere in this zone, there's going to be that shut-off line, right? Where if you live north of it, you get no snow, and if you live south of it, you're going to get an inch, ½ inch, and then that's where you're going to have problems. That's where you're going to have road issues and travel issues and things like that. South Alabama, we know that. Look, every road in South Alabama is going to become impassable late tomorrow morning through at least Wednesday at lunchtime. That is baked in. The question mark is what happens on that northern side. There has been a little bit of a northward push today in some of the data. I'm going to show you the raw data here in just a moment, and we'll go through all this. So now, if maps aren't your thing, some of you may be looking at this map and you have no idea where you live on this map. Here is a county by county look at this. Let me say up front, the part of this that I have the least confidence in, and the part of this that could bust in either direction, are the counties where it says 1 inch or less. Autauga, Chambers, Chilton, Coosa, Dallas, Elmore, Marengo, Perry, Tallapoosa. A northward shift and you could get 2 or 3 inches of snow. A southward shift, you could get zilch. So you are, in Top Gun, you are flying through the danger zone in those counties, because that's the forecast there. You could have anything from no snow at all to everything's iced over. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best in those counties. Now, in the counties where it says 2 to 3 inches, those are my highest confidence counties. I'm talking Barber, Coffee, Covington, Crenshaw, Dale, Geneva, Henry, Houston County, Pike County, Monroe County. 2 to 3 inches or more is likely in those counties. Travel problems will be widespread. And if you don't have to go anywhere tomorrow night, or Wednesday in any of those counties in that 2 to 3 zone, don't. The 1 to 3 inch counties, so I'm talking Bullock, Butler, we'll throw Lee, Lowndes, Wilcox, Russell, Montgomery, Macon County in that mix. Those counties will be sort of transition counties where the northern parts of those counties may have a lighter amount than what you see on this screen, and the southern parts of those counties could have more than what you see on this screen. Those counties are also sort of low confidence, right? Montgomery County is a really tough one. The latest, I'll show you this. Let me pop ahead here and see if I can show you this. All right, so this is the latest run of the North American mesoscale model. And looks like that shows up pretty well on the screen there. Yeah, it does. Okay, so this model, in case you're wondering, has absolutely no snow at the Montgomery Zoo on the Northern Boulevard. And it has about 3 inches of snow on Troy Highway, about 10 miles south of downtown Montgomery. That's the kind of razor edge I'm talking about. This is a tightrope act for the city of Montgomery. If this corridor, if this line comes north even a little bit, snow accumulations are going to go way up. Everything you see in blue down here, light blue is 1 inch, the darker blue is 3 inches. So this is all 1 to 3 inches of snow, with some amounts higher than that in some of those narrow pockets. Now, this is just one piece of model data. There are others that have this cutoff line farther south or farther north. The reason I wanted to show you this one is because I think it does a very good job, not necessarily in where it is, but showing you how tight it's going to be. I mean, you are literally looking at a scenario there where this is projecting accumulating snow and major travel problems for Pike Road and Hope Hull, and not a single problem just up the road from there. So could this change? Sure. Now, Sherry says, well, that map shows nothing for Elmore. I'm confused. This is a computer model. We take all of the models and make the forecast with them. So if you're confused by computer models, just stick with these graphics. Stick with this one and stick with the maps. I show people the computer model so that we have a little bit of, there's some added background information for the weather forecast. So, and understand, in Elmore County, you are right in the middle of that zone where some of you could get 0 and some of you could get an inch or 2 of snow. The higher chance of snow will come the farther south in Elmore County that you live. People saying, I'm not going to get any snow. You don't know that, and I don't know that. There is still margin for this to shift north or south somewhat. As I've said, they tend to shift north as they get closer in, and we're really close in now. We're about 18 hours away from the event starting. So there you go. That's what we're talking about here. That's that whole scenario in this is that. So there are other models that show that cutoff line farther north, farther south. That part is all over the board. When I showed you that map, I said, I don't want you to focus on the amount shown here. What I want you to focus on is the fact that there's a line, and north of it, it's 0, and south of it, it's 1, 2, 3 inches of snow. Where exactly that sets up, we don't know yet. We suspect, I've drawn where I think it ends up. Camden to around Redland, over to around Opelika, right there. Now, if anything, I think it may budge a little more north, but, I said that a day and a half ago, and everything trended south. So this is the kind of scenario where a lot of this is just sort of watching and waiting and trying to figure life out. Stuart asked, the National Weather Service in Tallahassee, Southeast Alabama, at 3 to 4 inches with locally higher amounts. Is that reasonable? Yes, it is. I am by nature a conservative forecaster. So we put 1 to 3 inches plus here, with the idea being, we think in this area outlined in blue, 1 inch is a pretty good baseline. Most of you in that blue will get 1 inch of snow. Some will not, right? Snow falls in pockets. Some of you in that blue will get a little less than that, but most of you will be 1 to 3 inches. There, I fully 1,000% expect there to be a strip down in here somewhere with some 4 and some 5 and some 6 inch amounts. And yes, I do have Sunkist. So, Diet Sunkist. Sunkist 0. They changed the name, by the way. I don't know about all that, but there you go. So, lots and lots of questions and all sorts of things. Baldwin County. Boy, you're not going to believe this. It is going to snow and snow a bunch in Baldwin County. It's not on the map down here, but the model consensus is 2 to 4 inches of snow for Baldwin County. And I mean all the way to the coast. In fact, I'll go back to the one model we were looking at here is the North American Mesoscale model. There are others we like, but check this out. So that's Baldwin right there. Pensacola, 3.9 inches. Mobile, 4.2. And notice the blue goes out into the water. So this is going to be a scenario where if you played your cards right, you could sit at the hangout and drink a beer and watch it snow into the Gulf of Mexico. Last time I was at the hangout was on our family vacation in July, and it was about 9,000 degrees. The idea of it snowing there just throws my brain for a loop, and I'm sure a lot of you, it does too. So there you go. A lot of folks asking more questions about the individual locations. Find your county, and the screen is there. What I'll do for our viewers watching this on Facebook and YouTube, we'll just take that, let's see, we will take that graphic full screen. The county by county graphic. So this is being simulcast, by the way. This entire Facebook and YouTube Live is being simulcast on a lot of places. You're watching it, and some of you are watching it on the WSFA First Alert Weather app and the News app. Some of you are watching on your smart TVs. Some of you are watching this on Facebook and YouTube, and I've got different delivery systems for each platform there. On Facebook and YouTube, I'm able to take a lot of graphics full screen very easily. On the News and Weather app, not so much. But we'll leave this up for the questions coming in about individual locations. I've gone over this a couple of times, but I know we have a lot of people just joining us. The counties that are really hard on this graphic, the low confidence ones, where I think we could bust in either direction. Autauga, Chambers, Chilton, Coosa, Dallas, Elmore, Lee, Lowndes, Macon, Montgomery, Perry, and Tallapoosa. Central Alabama, essentially. That corridor, that belt, if you just go from basically Auburn to Montgomery to Demopolis, that belt, right? That's an area where there's going to be a line that sets up. And if you live north of that line, you get 0. And if you live south of that line, even by 10 miles, you get an inch or two of snow and every road is shut down and covered in ice. So that's a low confidence thing, right? If this thing were to move 15 miles farther north, every one of those counties I just named gets way more snow. If it moves 15 miles farther south, some of these counties get no snow at all. That is fully what we expect to happen in this scenario. There are going to be some of you that are standing there watching a cloudy sky with no snow, calling me names on Facebook. Let me preemptively tell you, we expect that. We think that is going to happen. Somewhere in central Alabama, that line sets up. Now, the slam dunk, and I mean like Michael Jordan in his prime, like Air Jordan taking off from the free throw line, throwing it down, slam dunk. South Alabama. Everywhere where you see a 2 to 3 inch. Barber, Coffee, Covington, Crenshaw, Dale, Geneva, Henry, Houston, Monroe, Pike. You could probably even throw a few others in there. I think Butler County, I think Bullock County, a lot of those 1 to 3 counties too. Russell County's in the mix there. Those are pretty high confidence counties, and the farther south you go, the higher the confidence gets. This is one where you got a better chance of it snowing standing at the hangout in Gulf Shores than hanging out on Lookout Mountain in Mentone. Can you believe that? I mean, that is wild. And if people ask, why would you ever want to be a meteorologist? Gosh, why would you not? I mean, something like that. Look at what the atmosphere is going to do around here tomorrow. We're going to have giant snowflakes falling into the sand and the Gulf of Mexico. Is that still its name, Rachel? Officially, Gulf of Mexico. There has been some talk of renaming that body of water. If that happens, we'll cross that bridge later. But can you imagine how wild that's going to be? Sitting there watching it snow in a place where most of us are used to going down there and going crab hunting in our swim trunks, and they're going to be sitting there tomorrow watching it snow. That is crazy. That is worth every name I get called on Facebook and all of the hair that's left my head because of these kinds of forecasts. That is just really, really cool. So there you go. All right, it's now 5:50. We are going to eventually throw this over to kind of, we're going to start a newscast, we hope, at 6 o'clock. Looks like NBC is still in extended coverage of the inauguration of President Trump. So we understand this is kind of a high-impact weather situation, so we wanted to do an extended 30-minute broadcast that kind of encapsulated everything that we expect to have happen with this winter storm threat tomorrow. So a lot of people asking about specific roads and specific drives and specific businesses. I don't know. I would need to be Miss Cleo, the psychic, to figure that out. It will depend on where you are, right? If you live in the area outlined in blue here, I think the odds of you having a safe drive Tuesday night, and Wednesday morning are very, very low, near 0. If you live in the area outlined in white, especially farther north in that area outlined in white, those odds go up, right? I mean, Clanton may not get much of anything out of this. Rockford may not get much of anything out of this if the forecast holds the way it looks right now. So individual driving questions, I don't have all the answers there. One resource that could really help you would be ALDOT. ALDOT has cameras all over the state. You can go to their website and look at the cameras and see what the road's doing. We will also be doing a lot of updates throughout the day tomorrow on road conditions specifically, once we see how much snow has fallen and where the snow has fallen. So my advice is, let me just put it this way. This is the type of snow, as soon as it starts to fall, it's going to stick. There may be a brief melt that happens on the roads, but even that will eventually freeze up pretty quickly. So if you walk outside and there is snow on the ground, roads are probably either going to be bad or already bad. If you walk outside and there is no snow on the ground, your roads are probably fine where you are at that moment. My best advice would be, if it's possible, if you have a drive ahead of you, especially if you're leaving and going south, call someone who is in that area right at your destination and say, hey, What's the roads like right now? They will have good local information. They'll be able to look out the window and tell you, hey, the parking lot's covered. Don't come here. So a lot of this is ground truth information that is not really available to me right now. I can tell you very broadly that I think travel will be difficult or impossible for almost all of South Alabama and parts of Central Alabama tomorrow. So all of South Alabama, look, check. If you live from Greenville to Union Springs and south, this is as close to a slam dunk as we'll ever get in Alabama forecasting. You live north of that line, it becomes a more questionable proposition, right? If you're headed north, once you get north of Clanton, the currently available data suggests this is not a big deal. We'll watch for any northward trends that develop. Experience tells us those happen. Our forecast has already accounted for that, though. But just so you know, we've already accounted for that kind of northward push. We may end up pushing it farther north, depending the evening computer models tonight. So, people asking about the temperatures themselves, I can actually show you that. So, brutally cold, right? Tonight we are in the upper teens to near 20. Tomorrow night, upper teens to near 20. Wednesday night, upper teens to near 20. You need to drip a faucet in your house, the one farthest from your water main. Each night, a small, steady stream, the diameter of the lead inside of a pencil, any combination of hot or cold or just one or the other. The key is water is moving through the system. And set an alarm. This is what I do at my house. I set 2 alarms, one for before I head to bed or when the sun goes down, depending on how cold it's going to be. The next 3 nights, I do it as soon as the sun goes down. Set an alarm for when the sun goes down to turn it on, then set another alarm for 8 a.m. to turn it off. The exception to that is Tuesday. With it being cloudy, with potential for snow and ice, I personally would plan on dripping basically all day on Tuesday, and then all night Tuesday night. And then Wednesday, when the sun comes up Wednesday, you're likely clear to turn that off. So you do not need to run all your faucets wide open. You don't even need to drip all your faucets, right? What we don't want to have happen is some of our water systems to run low on water, because then no one can drip, everyone's out of water, and everyone's pipes will freeze. So be smart about it. Another little cost-saving thing, if you're frugal like me, in the faucet I drip, I keep a little pitcher and I fill it up. We got a little plant over there in the corner. I water the plant with that water. So that way I don't feel like I'm just pouring water down the drain for fun, because that's pouring money down the drain for fun, which is, quite frankly, not a lot of fun. Folks asking about power outages, we're not terribly concerned there. This is going to be a drier, fluffier snow than normal, which means that the weight of snow will not bring down as many tree limbs, which will reduce greatly the number of power outages. It will not be zero. Some places will, random tree limb that's already weakened by a previous storm or a diseased tree, something like that. These things will happen, right? It's windy, it's cold, there's a big demand on the power system load. There will be scattered power outages tomorrow night. We know that. We don't think this will be one where widespread power outages occur. What we're more concerned about are widespread travel issues, right? Driving, particularly in South Alabama, is going to become exceptionally problematic tomorrow night, and on into Wednesday morning. So there you have it. That's what we're kind of looking at right now. There's the map again. There's the county by county rundown. We'll pop that back up here. So timing this out, I'll show you that real quick again too. This is the graph computer model we use in-house. Now understand, setups like this usually arrive a little early. So what I would do is subtract about 2 hours from this. I think it arrives in Southwest Alabama around 7 a.m. and then it spreads east really quickly. It arrives in the central and even parts of the Wiregrass counties. Again, subtract 2 hours, I think by around 9 o'clock, we're starting to see some pretty good snow down here in South Alabama. Then it expands northeast through the day. By late morning, I think snow will begin to fall around parts of Montgomery County and Lowndes County, Wilcox, Dallas, southern Macon, parts of Tallapoosa, parts of Lee. That will then continue on and off through much of the afternoon and early evening. Then the back edge of the snow exits the state around 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. And then temperatures drop very quickly, way below freezing. So anything that's out there will not have any chance to melt, because the snow doesn't end until the sun is already down in a lot of places. And then we drop into the teens. So there's no melting opportunity here on a wide scale basis until Wednesday afternoon. And anything that doesn't melt, a lot of this will melt. Look, in places where it snows a half an inch, Wednesday will be enough, right? It will melt, it will evaporate out, And by Thursday, the roads in those places will be fine. In places where it snows more than that, down in South Alabama, where we end up getting some 2 and 3 and 4 and 5-inch snows, it's not all going to have time to melt Wednesday. And what will happen is it will partially melt, and then Wednesday night gets here, and we go back into the teens, and oh boy, you're going to have some really tough travel again on Tuesday morning. So for Central Alabama, I suspect the biggest travel impacts will be Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. For South Alabama, it will be Tuesday night, Wednesday most of the day, and then again Thursday morning. For South Alabama, I think it's likely that it's really not until Thursday afternoon that we finally get all this out of here. So that's how we're seeing there. Tiffany says, Prattville is not getting anything again. We don't know that. You don't know that. I don't know that. Prattville is right on that line. If this trends north, you're going to get snow. If it trends south, you get 0. So it's a difficult call to make. My suspicion is Prattville will actually have a little accumulating snow. Call it a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Enough to cause travel trouble for sure. So there you have it. I appreciate you as always. Thank you for joining us on this special live stream here on the WSFA family of apps, whether you're watching this on a smart TV, your mobile device, Facebook, or YouTube. We appreciate you being with us. And I hope you'll stick around. Over on WSFA 12 News, we're starting our 6 o'clock news in 1 minute and 10 seconds. That's not much time. So wherever you watch TV, head there and check out WSFA 12 News at 6. We're obviously going to be talking a lot about the weather, as well as preparations being made. The full rundown of news, sports, and weather, again, that's coming up on WSFA 12 News in less than 1 minute.